Hello everyone, please subscribe to my channel. Today I would share the story of how my wife cheated on me and how karma destroyed her life. I'm a 40-year-old man living in London. And my wife is a 41-year-old woman. We wed 5 years ago. I never wanted to get married and never wanted to be involved in legal issues, but my wife kept pressuring me to do so because she wanted a big wedding, so I granted her wish. After marriage, our lives completely changed, but we were happy. I had noticed from the beginning of our marriage that my wife had a tendency to spend excessive amounts of money on items that were not even necessary. She would replace the furniture in our home every year and purchase pricey lingerie despite my requests that she refrain from doing so because I was content with her and we didn't need to spice up our bedroom life, and she would buy extremely expensive clothes and call it an investment. She once made me purchase her new clothes and makeup after donating all of her old ones. She would throw lavish parties almost every other week, and I was expected to contribute more than half the cost of everything because she didn't earn well. She persuaded me to pay for everything by saying that we are young and we need to live life. I had no savings left, but at least my marital life was blissful. I was more than pleased to comply with my wife's requests since every time she bought something new, it gave her an adrenaline rush and improved her mood dramatically with me. She would treat me like a king and take extra care of our bedroom life, so I was more than delighted to meet her wishes. She would invite her old friends to her parties, and on her birthday she would even invite high school friends she hadn't seen in years, but she made sure to invite everyone. On the night of her birthday party, she introduced me to her old high school friend Bob, who had resurfaced in her life after 12 years and had grown particularly close to my wife. Bob had an odd habit of getting involved in everything we did. If we went somewhere, Bob would accompany us. He would order the same food as me and buy the same clothes as mine, and if I complimented my wife, Bob would compliment her 5 minutes after. It felt like that he was in competition with me. My wife insisted that since Bob didn't have a stable job, we should help pay for his expenses as well. I disagreed and we got into a heated argument over it, but she insisted that because Bob had no other friends so he needed our support, I reluctantly agreed to support him in some way. I was making a good living and am the type of person who would try about helping people financially. In return, I requested my wife to set boundaries with Bob and keep him out of our private lives. And she agreed. From that day forward, I saw Bob much less frequently. He had stopped coming to our house, and I was pleased to no longer have him around. Our lives had returned to a normal routine. My wife even stopped inviting Bob to her parties, and she did a great job of handling it when her other friends inquired about Bob's sudden absence. I was pleased that my lovely wife listened to me and completely cut off Bob in exchange for my covering his expenses. I was aware that my wife frequently provided financial assistance to her friends, so her request to assist Bob was not a big thing. My wife would treat me with extra attention and become very good with me in bed any time I sent money to Bob. Then, one day, my employer sent me on a week-long business trip to Europe. My wife wanted to come along, but since it was business-related, I couldn't take her. In Europe, I attended several meetings and finished up my work before the week was up. I wanted to surprise my wife, so I didn't tell her I was returning to London early to surprise my wife. I went to my house and unlocked the door with my keys. I entered as quietly as possible, and when I got to my bedroom door, I was shocked to see Bob with my wife. And they were busy in the act in our bedroom. I felt like I was about to pass out because this woman, whom I had been in love with, had been sleeping with Bob behind my back. My wife had been having an affair with Bob while she pretended to remove him from her life, even though I found her to be careless during our marriage, but I never imagined she would cheat on me. She pretended to be pious and in love with me, so when I saw her with Bob, I couldn't control my anger. I smacked them and kicked them out of my house right after punching Bob, which surprised and disappointed my wife. Despite being in shock and heartbreak, I used common sense and had my wife leave the house even after her crying, without delay the next day. I started the divorce procedure. My wife begged me to forgive her and to ignore what I witnessed, but I was at my breaking point with her immoral behavior. A stab from a friend sinks more deeply than one from an enemy. That's why I didn't care about Bob. I was devastated by my wife's betrayal. That's why I immediately began the divorce procedure. Update: my wife was used to a luxury lifestyle with me, and when I kicked her out, Bob dumped her because he was no longer receiving any money or gifts from her. Our divorce has been finalized. But my wife continues to beg me to forgive her. She saw me in court and cried like a baby, asking me to forget all that had occurred. I didn't give back the expensive clothing and jewelry she purchased with my money, so when I saw her in court, she was dressed in really cheap clothes and had no makeup on. Despite her obsession with makeup and clothing, she claimed that I was being cruel to her because she is human and human makes mistakes. I chose not to argue with her because she has a history of using emotional blackmail to manipulate me, and this time I don't want to fall for it, so I left her in tears. She has never had a stable job, and her income is extremely low. She returned to her parents following a divorce, but as I had already informed them of her infertility, they refused to let her stay with them since they hated her for destroying her married life. She now leads a miserable life, and repeatedly reaches out to me or my family to request money. However, since my family is aware that she has damaged her own life, no one from my family offers to help. Bob is nowhere to be found. I never heard about him again, and he didn't even get in contact with my wife. I'm happy with my life, have started saving money to invest, and have been dating an Asian woman. I don't have any immediate plans to be married again, but my present girlfriend appreciates me and makes me happy. I never imagined that divorce would bring me happiness. But when you get rid of toxic individuals, happiness follows. I'm glad I stood up for myself at last and that I did not give my wife a second opportunity to deceive me. I'm even relieved that I found out the truth about her. I'm delighted I caught her infidelity. If she hadn't cheated, I would still be married to her, which wasn't favorable for me. If someone had cheated on you too, so please forgive yourself for the blindness that allowed others to deceive you. Sometimes a good heart fails to recognize evil in their lifetime. Everyone experiences at least one awful betrayal. It ties us together. When that occurs, the key is to avoid letting it shatter your faith in other people. For cheaters, I would say, if you manage to defraud someone, don't assume that they are a fool. Recognize that you were given far more trust than you deserved. Please let me know if I made the correct decision in leaving her and whether she deserved another chance. Was I being unfair to her? Let me know what you think of my story in the comments section. I appreciate you listening to my story, so kindly click the like button and subscribe to my channel in order to grow this channel. We need your support. Stay connected and subscribe. Have an amazing day. Take care.